Welcome to my show, simply entitled Women Influencers. I am Veronica CCIM, founder and CEO of Capstack Commercial, a commercial real estate company serving the greater Orlando area. Today's guest is Michelle Fraser. A podcaster like me, she is from the oil and gas industry, and we spoke about the challenges of building a career in a very male-dominated industry. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe below. I welcome your comments and please share with someone who can benefit from this podcast.
Hi, Michelle. How are you today?
I am fine, thank you. Really excited to be on your podcast.
I'm so appreciative, especially the fact that you are in the UK and I am in Florida in the US. I mean, this is fantastic where we can go across the channel to actually speak to each other today. So welcome to our show. I wanted to get right into it and ask you about your story, how you grew up in your environment and how you got to where you are today.
So, I work as a project manager, but I started off as a technician, junior technician in a government training scheme when I was 16 after leaving school. Back when I was at school, which was maybe late mid 80s. The UK and the school that I went to probably wasn't as supportive of females to go into male dominant careers. So I was always encouraged to look at other avenues as a careers, maybe as typical female roles like hairdressing, administration, which are all very good roles as well, but I didn't really want to do that after I left school, so I decided I wanted to do something totally different. So I managed to get a job as a technician, and I've never really looked back from then. And then from there, I worked my way up over the many years to become a project manager that I am today.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. And you are an engineer, correct?
Yes, I am.
In the oil and gas industry.
Yes, that is correct.
So tell us a little bit about growing up with your family as a child. I mean, who was your source of inspiration? Who mentored you, if any? Tell us a little bit about that.
My source of inspiration, they were my parents. My dad taught me a lot about work ethics and how to act and work and how to always work hard. And so he taught me a lot about that. And my mum, she really looked after us and she taught us how to be authentic, set boundaries, to stick up for yourself. Yeah. So
Oh,
my parents were a huge influence on me.
that's pretty amazing, especially you talking about your mom who actually just encouraged you to be a very independent and strong woman. I heard you say or we. So you have siblings?
Yeah, I do. I have two sisters, an older one and a younger one, so I'm the middle one.
Oh wow, you're a middle child like me. That's pretty pretty great that we're both kind of have these I would say middle child syndrome, but I don't know if it's even true. But so do you run your own company right now?
I do run my own company now, and I contract out to a few different companies at the same time.
I see. So
Yeah.
you're an independent and you're a consultant. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how you help other companies in the oil and gas sector.
Well, what I actually do is I'm kind of like a troubleshooter, or I work on projects, and I mostly work with instrumentation and the ICSS systems for the offshore industry, also greenfield as well.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. And coming from someone who doesn't really have any kind of, knowledge of your industry, I think I'm just super amazed. I mean, my husband's a mechanical engineer by education, and he was in engineering sales in the past. He's retired now. And of course, my son, he graduated from Georgia Tech. He's a mechanical engineer with a minor in robotics. So, that's as far as my knowledge of, of engineering. Your world is just so amazing to me. Well, let me ask you about a challenge that comes to mind that you overcame in one point of your life or career. If you can tell us about how you overcame that, that would be amazing.
One challenge that I think that I've overcome is probably believing in myself, believing that I am successful and that I am good at my job and that I am worthy of taking a seat at the table. That is something that I think many people work on, and maybe not a lot of people admit it, but I think it's something that maybe affects a lot of people. I don't think I'm unique in this challenge by myself, but it's how have I been able to overcome that? I I've overcome it mostly by setting up my own website. I think when I started my social media, setting up my website, starting my podcast, and yeah, they've given me a lot of confidence. Plus surrounding yourself with positive influences and people that are going to support you is is a huge way to overcome these challenges as well.
That was pretty awesome. So, would you say that stepping outside of your comfort zone was really how you overcame that challenge?
I think so, yeah. But
Yeah.
I've always done that as well. Stepped out of my comfort zone. It's can be quite scary at the beginning, but then I think you get the adrenaline, and then you just go with the momentum, and then it's not really as scary as you think you first thought it was.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I mean, I think you're right. A lot of people, almost everybody, I would believe, is not excluded from imposter syndrome. I think, we all experience that. So thank you for sharing that. Let me ask you, if there was one outcome that you're most proud of because of the work that you've put into something or someone as an influence, what would that be?
Um, I think because I run a podcast called Energy Sector Heroes, and my podcast has had quite a big influence on quite a few of the younger generation, up and coming generation who maybe want to be engineers or go into the energy sector. Quite a few people have actually messaged me, emailed me saying how much they find it inspirational and how they thought that they might not be suitable as an engineer, or how they might not have been thought might not have been suitable to work in the energy sector because they may be working in a different sector, and it's really given them courage to pursue their goals and dreams.
Wow, that's really great how people reach out to you and tell you how much you've impacted them through your podcast. And I would assume that not only have they been hopefully been able to enter your industry, and that would be great if you can hear somebody say, I've actually had the courage of entering your industry just because of listening to you. I mean, that would be pretty amazing. Tell us a little bit about your podcast. Tell us more about what you cover in your show.
Well, my podcast is it's a career show. It's aimed at the up and coming generation who wants to maybe be an engineer or enter into the energy sector. I speak with influential people in the energy sector, whether that's CEOs or senior managers, and who are they all have amazing stories, and they give really good advice on tips on how to survive your how to build your career in the energy sector and how to overcome challenges as well.
Wow, that's really great. Speaking of advice, I wanted to ask you if you had one piece of advice for our audience, what would that be?
Never be afraid to go to the next level. Even you might get imposter syndrome, but everybody feels it. Even the most experienced CEOs and managers, they all have it. They all experience uh, imposter syndrome when they climb the career ladder. It's like one of my friends told me a saying the other day, and it was "new level, new devil," and I really think that that is very true.
It is
For
very true. Yeah, and when you say new level, new devil, it's really the scary part about moving up or trying to get to the next level. How did you do it?
I was quite scared all the time. I would apply for jobs, actually. I would apply for jobs that I don't know, I would apply for jobs, but to get to progress, I would apply for jobs much senior than I thought that I might not have got. And it only takes one person to say, yeah, okay, I'll take a chance on you.
Mhm.
So, of course, you apply for this job and then you get the job, and then it's maybe at least two times more senior than you're used to. And then you go in and you might be a bit, am I going to be able to do it? And is it going to be, how is it going to be? And things like that. And you get there and it's never as bad as you think it is. Everybody helps each other out anyway. And then you find your feet and then you fly by yourself.
Mm, mm. It's great. That's great advice. So we've actually come to the portion of our interview where I get to pass on the mic to you, and you get to ask me a question, Michelle. And I know we've discussed this question before we hit the record button. So please go ahead and ask me.
I was going to ask you, if you could turn back time, what piece of advice would you give your younger self?
Well, thank you for the question, and certainly at my age, sometimes I look back and think, how could I have done it better as far as my journey? And my answer to that would be that I would tell my younger self to learn soft skills early in my career. And I say that because I think that in the beginning, I was certainly lacking in soft skills. I'm a high analytical person, so I'm very matter of factly. As a matter of fact, sometimes I think my personality can come across as quite cold. And I realized later on, after many leadership academies and really figuring out how to develop my own leadership style, that soft skills or having soft skills really do matter in the management of people and in the management of your business, especially when you're in customer relations and that good stuff. So I really believe that if I had concentrated or at least devoted some time into developing my soft skills as a young person, I probably would have had better outcomes. Not that my outcomes are not good. I just think that I probably could have had a better advantage, especially in leadership of people and just familial relationships too. So that's the piece of advice that I would give my young self. So I appreciate that so much, Michelle. Before we go, I wanted to ask you if you have any parting words for our audience.
Yeah, I do. And I was just thinking about what you were saying. I think if I was going to give my younger self any advice, it would probably be to worry less. Because what's going to happen is going to happen. And whatever's meant to be for you will not pass you by. And just to grab every opportunity that you can. Because, yeah, it could be scary starting something new, but it's never as bad as you think it's going to be.
I
And you
love that.
Probably will be okay in the end anyway.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Less worry and just let the universe just bring you to where you it wants to take you as far as journey. I totally appreciate that. So, Michelle, I want to thank you again for being on our show, and I look forward to being on yours, hopefully. So, in the meantime, have a good evening. And for me, it's still daytime here, but have a good evening out there in the UK. And thank you.
No, thank you very much.